Afternoon, boys and girls. I just wanted to touch base again on a dot plot, and we will be analyzing this data that I have already organized within a dot plot, within a number line. It's already been collected. I already organized it. Now we're going to analyze it and we're going to interpret it. Okay, here's an analytical question that we'll be analyzing. How old are people who retire early? So I have my number line created. I plotted my dots for every data entry that was involved in a set of data. And I have, again, my number line, my dot plot. I have it labeled what we're measuring, the ages of retirement. So the first question, is this a statistical question? Your answer should be yes, because as you can see on this dot plot, we have multiple answers, meaning we have multiple ages in which people retire early. All right, the next several steps are to identify any clusters. Again, clusters, think of grapes. Most of the data will be clustered together, meaning the majority of data will be within a certain interval. Just think of it as a scale, numbers to a certain number. Next, we have identifying any peaks. Again, a peak is like a mountaintop. So where does the data peak at, meaning where is it the greatest? What number repeats itself the most? Next, we'll have to identify any gaps. Where is there a gap where no entry is and it skips an entry and it goes to the next entry? So all of those vocab terms are very literal. A peak, think of a mountaintop. Where's the peak? A gap, it's literally a gap. And also a cluster. Think of grapes. It's literally going to be cluster of numbers. All right, let's go ahead and get into the, let's go ahead and identify those. I'm going to color coordinate this. Let's do the gaps first. So I look at this, I see a gap here at 56 to 58. So this is a gap from here to here. From 56 to 58, there's a gap. Let's see if I see another gap. I see a gap here at 62 to 64. This is also, again, you can have multiple gaps within a set of data, which we do here. We have two gaps. So you should be able to see now and recognize, since we have identified the gaps, we should now be able to see a cluster. All right, the majority of data is within 58 and 62. So this is actually going to be our cluster. This is where the majority of data rests within those intervals from 58 to 62. That's our cluster. I'm going to transition to another color. I'm going to use black this time. The last thing we need to identify is, are there any peaks within this data? All right, there's one peak here, which is 60. This is where the data peaks, meaning this is where it's at its greatest, meaning frequency. It repeats itself the most. And now the last question we have to answer that question at the top, that analytical question. How old are people who retire early? So we're going to look at the spread of distribution. The numbers we have now, we have spreaded them out, and we have distributed them on a number line. Now we're going to use that information to interpret the data to answer the question. So our answer would be here, in this case, people who retire early are roughly at the age of 60. We're going to use our peak to answer that question. So if you can see this really quick, again, we're answering the question, how old are people who retire early? Most people retire early at the age of 60. Again, our peak is within our cluster, so that should always take place. Your peak normally should be within your cluster of data. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope this did help you to use for tonight's homework. Have a great night. See you.